Hey, good morning. Mike Rains here with Remax with your market update. Today is Thursday, March 10th, and we want to be able to cover some stuff with you today to kind of give you an up-to-speed market so that you know what's going on in real estate in our local area. And so I'm just going to start my presentation here. Many people want to know what's happening because of Ukraine and all of the things that are happening overseas, how that's happening, how's inflation doing, how's our inventory doing. So today I want to cover three things quickly to kind of give you a snapshot of what's going on here so far this month in the month of March. And so the things I'm going to cover today is what are the rates doing? What are the interest rates doing? What is the best time to sell my house as a seller? And what's happening with the inventory? So with that, well, let's look at mortgage rates. And so right now, despite the market volatility, which normally you have people coming out of the stock market, flying into the bonds, which would drive up the price of the bonds, and the inverse relationship with that is it drives the yields down. So we're not used to seeing the Dow and others down 500, 600, 700 points and not seeing the bonds respond in kind, which would drive the interest rates down that you and I would pay for our mortgages. So despite all that volatility, the bonds have been selling off. And so interest rates are kind of still creeping up on that. So that results in a higher yield, and we're looking at the 10-year. So when you look at the 10-year, look at the yield on that. And as that yield goes up, that's where your mortgage interest rates come from. So today's 30-year fixed rate, I called a couple of buddies of mine that are in the mortgage business to try to get a cross section of what's happening in the interest rates. And today's interest rate is at 3.875% with no points. And so we want to know what's happening with how that translates to payment and stuff. But just to kind of give you an update, that's up from an eighth of a point or 0.125% from 2 weeks ago in my update. So how does this affect you as a buyer? That's really what it matters, is that how are you as a buyer going to be affected by an increase in interest rate? So I gave an example here on an $850,000 purchase price with 20% down, and that's going to have a principal and interest payment at 3.75. It would be at $3,149. But now that the interest rates have snuck up at 3.875% this morning, that has a principal and interest rate that goes up to $3,198. That's only $49, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if every 2 weeks the interest rates are rising by an eighth, on that example, you would have $49 more on your payment that you can expect on that. So currently, this increase that we're looking at isn't going to have an effect on buyer demand. It certainly hasn't in my estimation and the clients that I'm working with. But time will tell if more increases in the interest rate are coming. And if that does, how that's actually going to eventually affect demand. So transitioning over now to the sellers. So a lot of people ask like, hey, you know what? I want to sell my house, but when is the best time for me to sell my house? So welcome to spring market. Coming up here in about 10 days, March 20th starts off the spring market officially. We have the spring forward in the time. The days are lasting longer. There's more light out and so forth. So people are very active in that. So the spring market is upon us. And so what happens in spring, that's the busiest season for housing. So believe it or not, that's the time of the year. More homes get put into escrow in the spring market than at any other time statistically. So that's a good thing. So when's the best time to sell? Well, right now is the best time for you to sell. So consider if you're thinking about making that move, you want to take advantage of right now the lower interest rates and also the seasonal time, just in the ebbs and flow of the year, that's going to affect the time that has a better chance for you to get into escrow, and that's in the spring market. So what's going on in inventory level? So we're seeing active inventory creeping up just by a little bit in the last 2 weeks. It's only gone up a total of 48 homes in the Orange County area where I'm at, which that's not very many homes on the market. Inventory continues to be a strong factor for a hot seller's market. You have more buyers on the market looking for homes and you have inventory of homes to sell. So spring market hopefully will bring a little bit more inventory, but likely is not going to have an effect on the levels as even though there's inventory coming, there's more buyers that are motivated to snap that inventory up. So it's going to get scooped up quickly. And that's what the challenge has been, is building inventory. So even though we have a little bit more and more inventory coming on, we haven't seen the total levels of inventory go up by very high. So we're going to be watching those interest rates closely to see if they do rise and how much they rise and how that might affect the buyer demand side. So it's always a supply and demand. So we're talking about the demand side of the equation. And if that happens, we might be able to see a little bit of build in inventories, which is definitely needed. So that's what's going on. And I hope you guys have a fantastic day. As always, I'm here to answer any of your questions of anything real estate needs. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Hit the smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content, to keep you updated on what's happening in the real estate market.